Hey, you guys, and welcome. Today, we are talking all about hiring other tutors, and I have my dear friend with me, Michael Gibbon, joining me. Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Joanne. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great day.
Yeah. And we're going to be sharing all about those top 7 mistakes that tutors make when they think about they're going to start hiring other tutors to come onto their team. So stay tuned.
So our first one that we are going to talk with you about today is that failure to have a due diligence checklist. And that's what do we mean by that? So it's really about having in place a step-by-step of how you're going to hire your tutors. Because if you go out there and you're just going without a plan, that can lead to a lot of different pitfalls and problems. So you want to just make sure you have things in place. Like, for example, did you do an interview? Did you do a background check? Did you check references? Just have those ducks in a row. What do you think, Joanne?
Yes, absolutely. Just knowing what steps do I need to take? Because whenever you enter something in, you kind of are moving from the place these are the actions I think I should take. But then we're not really taking a look at what are the actions I should be taking. And I think when you have that checklist, you have that ability to not second guess yourself. Do you know what I mean? You're always having that feeling behind you and you're not really sure, is this the way people really do it? Is this what I should be doing? And you're like, I don't know. You're kind of just throwing everything out into the air and just kind of figuring it out as you go. But I kind of feel like when we operate from that space, it takes us so much longer to learn the things that we need to learn to make it be effective and to also keep people happy within our team, right? Because that's really what you're creating is you're creating a team of tutors, right? That are going to be serving the clients for this company that you have begun.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. You want to make sure that you're building a team. You want to make sure your team is feeling great and you're feeling great about them. And really that kind of ties into the second point where it's very important when you are hiring tutors, because there's always that feeling of chicken and the egg. And do I hire tutors before I have students? Do I get students first and then hire tutors? Go for the former. Because if they're independent contractors, it's okay. Hire a couple tutors within a very specific niche. You want to hire with a mistake you make, and I made this mistake, is hire with speed and not precision. I did that so much when I started. I was hiring anybody. I was just like, oh my gosh, I did obviously within reason, making sure they had the background check and all those things, but I wasn't taking my time to make sure they were the right fit for my organization. And that led to problems, where families felt the tutor wasn't the right fit, or it was for a subject that was really obscure for my business. But I was like, oh, I can get a tutor for them, then I can get that client. Take your time and really take your time with how the hiring goes and make sure that you feel that this tutor is going to be amazing for you, and don't just rush in to bring someone in just for the sake of having a tutor to fill the spot for your upcoming client.
Popular phrase that I hear all the time is hire slow, fire fast. And that's a really hard one for us because we actually move, we do everything opposite from that, right? We want to hire fast and then we want to fire slow. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt and all of that kind of stuff. And it's really hard for us to just let somebody go because it's just not working out, right? It's great to have a process for that. But again, you want to take your time hiring the right people and not just fill spots, right? And you also want to make sure on the other side of it that you have students for those tutors. If you're hiring tutors and you don't have students for them, then and you're just kind of holding on to them and they're waiting months and months and months before they have their very first student, they're not going to feel like you have a very good running ship.
Absolutely. And it's better to, in a perfect world, get a couple tutors on, but check your trajectory of how many students you're gaining. What's the numbers looking like for new students over the last few months? If you're feeling that you're hitting your own glass ceiling for working with students and you're ready to expand and scale through hiring other tutors, because that'll give you an indication of estimation of how many new students you're going to bring in. So then you know how many tutors you need to hire, when you can hire them, and And that'll help you with that preparation. And it gives you more time to really make sure, again, that you have the right fit. Now, you might have that due diligence checklist. You might hire by taking your time and getting that, that wonderful tutor that comes in, does a great interview, has sterling references, everything's going great. But then, right before the session, they don't show up. Or they are, or they say that they quit or found something else, an hour before they're supposed to start with your student, or they're just not the right fit. And the family's not happy with maybe the format of how that tutor worked. I had all three of those over the years, and it was high stress. That's where a third mistake, and this is a mistake I made, was bypassing the mock session. It's so important to take time. And what I found worked was I would contact one of my families that I was working with, and I would say, I'm bringing a wonderful new tutor onto the I Am Success tutoring team, and I would love it if they could, just come in for 15 minutes, work with, I'll pseudonym here, Michelle. They can work with Michelle, and they can, just know a little bit about how I Am Success tutoring works. Is that okay? I'll be there, of course. And it'll be like they have two tutors for part of the session. And families, most of the time, are totally fine with that. And if it works out and, the tutor shows up and has a great rapport and you're feeling great, you get to see them in action. That'll help to alleviate some of that stress. And they did show up for the mock session. They're taking this seriously. So that helps you to put more in place of feeling good about this person when they go in front of their family for the first time. If they don't show for the mock session, it could be for legitimate reasons, but if they no show, or they cancel 5 minutes before because they slept in, or they'd rather do it another day, it's better to have it happen then, because no harm, no foul, right, Joanne? No harm, no foul. It's right. With your students. So it's like, you can just say, oh, you know what? Sorry, they couldn't make it today, but I'm here and let's have a great session, Michelle. Yeah. No harm, no foul. And then you can check in with this tutor and see what happened. But if they're blasé about it, well, you dodged a major situation right there, because then you just go back to the family that's waiting for that tutor and be like, you know what? We have a couple more things we need to do to make sure we bring the right tutor on for you. And thank you so much for your patience. And that just helps to alleviate that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just part of that whole hiring process. Again, taking it slow, right? Having these different steps put into place. So you're hiring the right people that are going to be a good fit for your organization. And so knowing what are your values that you have, right? And do these other tutors that you're bringing on, do they have similar values? It doesn't mean they have to teach exactly like you. You're not trying to create carbon copies of yourself, right? Because nobody is a carbon copy of you, and nobody will ever fit that profile. Everybody comes to the table with something special, and you need to just allow them to shine for who they are. But like you said, you are able to dodge a bullet when you have these mock sessions, because you already know, are they going to show up on time? Are they going to take this seriously? Or those kinds of things. And so tell us a little bit more. I know this number 4 is failure to do a 1-minute spot check. So what is that? What is a spot check?
Yeah. So a spot check is this is before the mock session. It's right between the interview and the hiring step, is taking 1 minute to go on Google, social media, and look up this tutor. It's not being invasive. It's checking to see, are they who they say they are, and learning a bit about the person you're going to bring in to work with your families and their VIPs. So that's very important, because they are representing your brand. And I can say 97% of the time, everything checked out wonderfully on my end. They were wonderful, and who they were is what they were. It was great. You don't go down the rabbit hole looking up every little thing about them, but just taking 1 minute to do just a check to see. But I can tell you, I had a situation, and I'm really glad I did this, where the person aced the interview, had a good reference, was going to do the background check. I thought, oh my gosh, this person is going to be so wonderful. I did a 1-minute spot check, typed their name in, their Twitter account came up, and the first thing on their feed was them bashing the admin they worked for and saying what a terrible school it was, and horrible experiences. You don't want that out there, because do you want them saying that about your tutoring company if things don't necessarily work out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I had another time somebody said that they had X and Y qualifications. I looked up on the site where you could look up those teaching qualifications, and they were not there. I even typed in just the number they gave on the resume for their certification number. It was not there. So I
Oh,
bought it and they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting it later next year. I'm like, well, why would you put a number there then? Right. So take a minute,
right.
double check that, because that's something you don't want to have as a problem, because if they're not being honest or they're posting inflammatory stuff now, what could be happening if you bring them on?
Exactly, exactly. And this is really, I mean, this is the time in the world where, like, it's sad to say, like, you can't trust anybody right out of the gate, right? But you have to kind of put your guard up a little bit to know that people are going to fluff themselves up during an interview, like we all do it. So you definitely taking that 1 minute to just, go into Google, search them up, find out where are their social media profiles, what kinds of things are they posting, who are they, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really, really important. And it also lets you know, like, are they trying to start like their own online tutoring business or things on the side as well? Knowing that stuff ahead of time is great, because then you can have a conversation about that. And what does that look while they're also working for you, right? Because some people are going to be totally okay with you getting your own students, and other people are not going to be okay with that, right? So you want to
Absolutely.
make sure that that's a good fit for whatever you're going with your business and the types of tutors that you're bringing on. And you
No,
had mentioned as well, not having a paper agreement in place, right? Like, which would kind of like talk about that kind of stuff. Like, people are always scared that people are going to just, take those clients and begin working with them on their own. And so having a paper agreement in place would definitely be something that you would put in there. Like, what are the consequences if you were to decide to do something like that?
for sure. And I mean, and having that proper agreement in place, really, it comes down to as well, you know, it's another way to give very clear expectations to your tutors, and vice versa. They know what what the expectation is of them, vice versa. And having things like a non-solicitation clause, or a way that, you can inform them that, yeah, you can tutor for other companies, you can do your own private tutoring, it's fine. You can make things in, as long as you're not taking other clients from us. You can put things in there about like supervision and copyright and just all those different things. The major thing is really outlining the expectations, and it's
Mhm.
very important, because I've worked with other people who say, oh yeah, I've hired friends, and I trust them, and that's wonderful to trust your friends, of course. But even if it's a friend, still have them sign the contract with you, because you want to make sure that that piece is there, because you are running a business, and it's important to have that
Right.
professional piece in place, regardless if you're hiring a stranger or a close friend to be a tutor for your company. It's important to have that there, because if something were to go awry, you have something in place.
Yeah, and sometimes you guys friends can be the worst offenders of things, and it's so hard for us to handle that and deal with that, because friends are like, "Well, we're friends, so she's not gonna really think that's a big deal," right? But if you have those things written down, it kind of alleviates some of that, and yeah, it's really hard to do that. So if you're thinking of hiring friends on the go, think about also hiring other people as well, not just friends,
Yes.
because you really do need to see like both pieces and how that's going to work within your business. It is very hard. I mean, you do become friends with the people that you end up working with, but at the same time, you want to always keep that professionalism there inside of your business, so that the business can run the way that it's meant to run, and those kids and those students are getting the services that they're meant to get. And
Yeah.
what comes next is really thinking about is micromanaging instead of collaborating, right? Because nobody nobody wants to have somebody like on like watching them 24/7 as they're doing their work. It makes people feel weird when people do that, and it's uncomfortable. So if you can do all of that training and all of the stuff ahead of time before they start working, so they know what your expectations are, they know what it is that you're looking for, they know how they can do a good job, they know how they can communicate with you. You won't have to spend all of your time then micromanaging to make sure that they're doing everything A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A
Mm.
lot of people are hiring independent contractors versus hiring a staff of tutors that you're employing full time, right? And so if you're hiring those independent contractors, you'll run into some troubles with them being qualified as an employee or not based on the amount of micromanaging that you're trying to do anyways. So kind of want to stay away from that. And plus you want to think about it more as a collaboration, right? Like the people that are working for you, most likely they're working for you because they don't want to find the students, right? They don't want to do the marketing. They don't want to have to take care of all of the communication. They don't want to have to find all of their own resources to do the tutoring. They just want to teach, right? They want to go on in there and they want to tutor. So this is more like a collaborating opportunity for both of you.
Yeah, no, I love everything that, that you just brought up as well, Joanne. Those are all great points. And really, with micromanaging, again, yeah, you got to be mindful, independent contractor, employee, and micromanaging. Like, yeah, it fosters and breeds a company culture of mistrust and judgment instead of, if there's course correction or pivots needed, how can you collaborate? Keep it an open door policy, keep it a two-way street. I know when I started hiring tutors, I definitely I leaned more toward micromanaging because I was so scared of like, oh, I got to make sure everything goes well. And I think I lacked the confidence when I started, really, frankly, to lead a team, because I had never really led a team before. And I felt, oh, well, okay, I'll do this, and then it'll be good. And I really should have been listening more and really keeping a two-way communication going. And that's so important. And once you get into that more collaborative mindset, it can really make a big difference, because then your tutors feel understood, they feel heard, and it really can make a difference in terms of longevity with a tutor staying with you, versus if you're micromanaging them, they might not be long for your company because they're going to want to. And I love as well, you brought up a wonderful point about, with a lot of tutors that join your company, it might be like you said, because they don't want to do the sales, they don't want to do the marketing, they don't want to do all those back end pieces. And that ties into our seventh, piece.
We're not going to tell people what that 7 piece is yet, because before we get to the 7, this is the best one, you guys. Like, this is the best one. This is the best one. And so before we share that best one with you guys, okay, before we share that with you, I just have to tell you, you guys, TutorBird has become the official sponsor of our channel. And I have to tell you, when it comes to hiring tutors, TutorBird is the easiest thing that you could possibly use for your business, hands down. And I'm not saying that because they're sponsored, because I was saying this before they were even a sponsor of this channel. Okay. So just saying, but the way that they make it so that you can run an entire team, TutorBird takes care of so much of the back office stuff for you so that you don't have to take care of the back office stuff as much. And your business can run like clockwork. So if you guys are looking to get a 3-month subscription to TutorBird, watch this, look at the URL, and definitely get your 3-month trial version today.
TutorBird lets you schedule lessons, take attendance, collect payments, and much more, all in one place.
Before I share number 7, before I share that one, this first one I actually learned the hard way. So when I first got started, I was so frustrated, because when I wanted to become an online tutor, my husband suggested that I work for another company first, that he didn't think that I could do this on my own and that I should work for another company first. So I'm like, okay, cool. There's Sylvan. I will apply. And so I applied, right? Remember, I have my master's degree. I'm a reading specialist. I had 10 years experience in the school system. They were going to pay me $15 an hour. $15 an hour. And then they were going to be paying $50. They were going to be charging $50 an hour from every single student. Okay. So, and they're going to be giving me 3 students at a time. So they would be making $150 and I would be making $15. And to me, I was like, oh, heck no. What's the difference between me and that? And it was that they knew how to market my services and I didn't yet, but I knew that I had enough in my background that I could get that started. Okay. So there's value, but not that much value. Like, I feel like that's taking advantage of, right? And so I think there's a lot of tutors coming from that side of the equation who are thinking, oh, there's no way that any company should take like a big piece of the pie, like they're not doing most of the work and all of that kind of stuff. And I know, Michael, you also started in the tutoring world. You actually did work for a tutoring company. What was your experience as you were working for the tutoring company?
Yeah. So when I was working for the tutoring company, again, it was similar deal. It was a 3-on-1, abysmal pay. And I just felt like, well, wait a second, like I should be getting paid more for what I do. I was a new teacher at the time, but still I felt I should really get paid more for what I'm putting out there into the world. And I felt, well, I could go out there and do this myself. Once my contract ends for this position, I'm going to go out there and go and do this on my own. But unfortunately, I left charging really low for my services because that's the mindset that I had put myself in by working for those companies. And I allowed myself to be taken into that direction. So I think the big thing is when you're starting your company and when you're hiring other tutors, pay a fair rate, but look at what you're charging your clients.
Yeah.
And look at what you're putting out there, what you're doing to get the client for these tutors, but make sure you're charging enough that you can take about 50 to 60% of the pot and the tutor gets the rest, 40 to 50%. But make sure, do the calculations before you start hiring tutors. In your budget, make sure that you pay yourself what you're worth and make sure you pay your tutors a fair wage because your tutors
Absolutely
deserve the money that they get paid. If they're doing a great job and they are putting it out there, make sure you're not paying them abysmal, but at the same time, make sure you're not in a situation where a tutor says, well, how come you're getting paid like that? You should be able to have it in place that does not become an issue because you are paying them a fair amount for their services.
Exactly. And so that number 7, we're now going to spell it on out for you, is not paying yourself enough for the work that you do. Because a lot of people don't really, you're looking at, like, as a tutor, you're just looking at it from the side of, I'm doing all of the work.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing all of the work now. How much of the work did you do beforehand that needed to be done? How much advertising did you do? How much money did you spend on advertising? How much engagement online with other people did you spend? How much, how long have you been building your email list so that you could reach out and let people know that there are these services that are open? Did you create your own website where you have those advertisements? Do you have all those pieces in place where you could run your own business, right? There's so many pieces that happen before that first client comes on through that you're not seeing as the tutor because you don't have to take part in those activities.
Exactly.
And I think that's the piece that so many people, they're like, well, I'm doing all the work, so why should this other person be getting paid as much money as they're getting paid? And I see this with Wyzanta all the time. Like, people are like, why are they take 25%? They have created the platform, the name, the reputation, and a place where they drive traffic to consistently to get those services. Yes, they're only taking 25%, but that's the only thing that they're doing. They're just driving traffic to that website so people have the opportunity to find you, right? But as somebody who owns their own online tutoring business, you are the one who is like, you are engaging with the clients, you're doing the assessments, there are certain assessments that you've got to figure out to find out, like, which tutor is going to be a right fit for which student, and all of those things, so that everything works like clockwork. So do not underestimate what your value is. Now, I am not saying that you should go about, your entire tutoring business thinking, oh, I'm just going to hire tutors and I'm just going to take a 50% cut or a 60% cut. Like, that is not the way that we go about this, right? You're training your tutors, right? You're providing support for your tutors. You're thinking about, how can I continue to support these tutors so that they can be successful in their journey, right? You don't want your tutors to stay with you forever and ever, right? Eventually you do want them to go on out and blossom and bloom and do their own thing that they feel called to. But you want them to feel like they have more skills having been with you than just being ignored by you and not really feeling like they're part of a team, right? And that's really what you're creating at the end of the day, is a team to serve the kids that need these kinds of services.
And like Joanne is saying, provide value, and that, because if you're providing a value, not just here's a student's login information, go, or here's a binder, good luck. If you're providing a consistent, value, guidance, connection, and you're doing your best to help, like Joanne says, this tutor to get ready to really blossom or even blossom within the tutoring industry, wonderful. Then you've done your job and you've done it well as not just a manager, you're a leader. And if you can help them to blossom into those leadership roles, great. So that's why you pay yourself what you're worth, but you don't just look at it as a barometer of, I'm going to pay myself 50%. That's not how you spin it. That's not how you share it to tutors. You share it of, we're here to do this for you, and we're going to do this together, and this is how this is going to work together. Because nobody wants to hear somebody's justification list. They don't want to hear their boss saying, well, I have to pay for marketing, and I got to go and talk to families. I have to do all the work. What do you're tutoring? Don't do that. Never.
No.
You want to share, we're going to collaborate together. We're going to help you, we're going to help together become stronger educators. And, there's lots of things we want to put together. It's going to be really exciting to help you. And that's how you put it together. And that builds excitement, because if you're excited, that in turn builds through osmosis excitement.
For sure. I love it. And you guys, we're not done yet. We have so much more to share with you. And we have a special event on December 9th where you're going to get to come join us, if you so choose, to a leadership training. We have a leadership 1 and a leadership 2 training. And during leadership 1 training, people are going to get the opportunity to hear what are some of those soft skills that we need to know in order to run a successful online tutoring business, even if you don't plan on hiring other tutors. And leadership 2 really dives deeper on into what are some of the things that I need to know about when I am growing my team. And you definitely want to take a look at that and see, okay, how can I just be the best prepared person, the best leader, the leader of my own tutoring business, the leader of other tutors who are going to join me on this journey together. And we are going to guide you through that process on December 9th. Link is in the description, and we hope to see you there. The past people who have come and joined us have said, I never even thought about these kinds of things when I was running my business. A lot of times we're just thinking about, like, how do I get students, right? Like I just need to get students, right? We don't think about these underlying things that can have an overall effect on your total business.
Yeah, and exactly it. So December 9th, Leadership Skills Summit, it's going to be an opportunity for you to really connect with other tutors and help get some of those questions asked about, maybe questions about how to approach certain situations, whether you're a freelance tutor or interacting with families, or how to work with other tutors, and really how you handle the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. It's really about how to navigate those situations and try to reach win-win as much as possible, and how to have optimal conversations, because the connection, the conversation, and that's what we've seen at previous leadership skills summits, is been really eye-opening for all of us, and we're learning. So we look forward to seeing you on December 9th, and the link will be down below.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today. And on Thursday, you're going to get to hear some people who have been part of a special Leadership 3 training that we have done. And you're going to get to hear what their experience was like as they began creating the resources and tools that they needed to have a business that successfully brings in people. So come join us Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Make it a great day.